This is Dr. M. Miller, and it's really good to be with you here today. And this is Ultrapowering Self-Talk, fusing affirmations and guided imagery and deep relaxation, part 2. 3 very, very powerful tools for creating change, and especially self-change. Virtually all of our stress and tension and anxiety and worry are the result of our thinking thoughts about the past or the future that create negativity. That is to say, when we come into the present moment, and you know what it's like, maybe you're sitting at a lecture or maybe a boring lecture or class or something like that, and a minute or two has gone by and you didn't hear anything, or sometimes you're reading and you realize that your eyes read the last paragraph or two, but you have no idea what you just read. You are not present. There's a part of you who was mechanically tracking the events that are going on, so that if a fire had started in the middle of the room, you would immediately see it, but then you'd suddenly become present again. See what I mean? But what's happening is that our thoughts are traveling along basically it's a fantasy, because you're not in the present world. You're not responding to what's really going on in the present. This story about a nun who was teaching a class, and they're, I guess, third graders or something like that, third or fourth graders, and they had been talking about the future and thinking about yourself in the future. And the nun says, "I'd like you to share with me, what would you like to be in the future?" And she says, "Okay, Mary, what would you like to be in the future?" And she said, "I'd like to be a nurse. I'm going to be a nurse." And the nun says, "Oh, that's wonderful, because a nurse really gets to help people who are in pain and who are hurt." And she says, "Johnny, what do you want to be?" He says, "I'm going to be a fireman." He says, "That's wonderful, because you get to help people and save people who are in distress." And then she says, "And Monica, what would you like to be?" Monica says, "I'm going to be a prostitute." And nun says, "What? You're going to be a what?" And the veins start out on her forehead. She turns red and she's furious. "Going to be a what?" And Monica says, "A prostitute." And says, "Oh, I thought you said Protestant." Okay. What does that story have to do with anything? The nun's reaction was to what she thought she heard, not what she actually heard. The little girl said prostitute very clearly. So it's your expectations of what's going on translate everything that's going on in your environment, and you get to see the product of the transformation. You don't get to see the truth that's out there. And if you want a really beautiful example of this, talk to one of your friends. Take some recent political situation. Oh, I don't know, politics in Florida, or LGBTQ rights, or the right to bear arms is Second Amendment rights or something like that. And talk to someone who's, let's say, a liberal, progressive person, and they will tell you what the story is. They will explain this situation. Now go over to someone who's on the far right and have them explain the same situation. it is the same situation because you gave them the same title, but you get a completely different story from those two people. They connect it completely, and they totally believe what they believe. And you can't say one of them's lying to you. They're not lying to you. They're telling you that's what they really believe. That's going on all the time. It's the point that I'm making. And it's the fact that that's going on all the time that we end up creating problems in our lives because we're not responding to what's really there. We're responding to some misinterpretation of it. So a person says something to you and, like the nun, and you misinterpret what you hear. And then you get angry. And so often we don't go further and say, gee, when I heard that, I was really surprised, as we talked about in our relationship webinars, to say when you said that to me, I felt a lot of pain inside. I felt really hurt because it seemed to me that you were saying that you weren't interested in seeing me anymore. Is that what you meant, or is it something else? And the person gets a chance to say, oh, no, I wasn't talking to you. I was on the cell phone. I'm sorry. Right? You hug and make up, and that's all there is to it. Instead of going, well, you feel that way, then you might say something nasty to that person. They suddenly hear something nasty and they react with tension. Pretty soon you got a big fight, and all it was is one person was talking over on the other cell phone or whatever. So, and of course we grow up, and as we grow up in our lives, we keep getting interpretations of the environment from the people around us, and we believe it. We're designed to believe it up until the age of 3, 4, 5, maybe 6, 7. You don't realize that different people have different ideas. It's called a theory of mind. And so, for instance, one story is Mary goes out, and Mary does some babysitting. She earns $20. She gets a $20 bill. Oh, that's great. She comes home, and there's an old cookie box on the dining room table. No cookies in or anything, but she decides, I'll put my $20 bill in that, and I'm going out and play. So she goes out and plays. And while she's out playing, Johnny comes home, and Johnny, as he's walking past the dining room table, he notices this cookie box has been moved. So maybe there's a cookie in here. He opens the box. It's $20. So Johnny takes the $20 out, and then he takes it over and hides it underneath the cushion on the couch. Then Johnny goes out and plays. Meanwhile, Mary comes back, and Mary decides she wants to get her $20. Now, where is Mary going to look for the $20? Well, of course, we all know, but if it's a 3-year-old, they will say she's going to look under the cushion of the couch, or maybe a 4 or 5-year-old might do that. A 6-year-old or 7-year-old, no. They go, she's going to look at the cookie box. Oh, she's going to be weirded out, And that's because the younger child doesn't have a theory of mind, that different minds have different thoughts, and therefore one can think this, one can think that. It seems to be in a way, the paradox solves itself. So, but we tend to go through those early years of our lives, and we accept what we're hearing and what's being told to us and what's being demonstrated to us. We believe the news reports that we see. We believe what we learn in Sunday school, and that's what seems real to us. And we learn that this is how we watch mom and dad, and we watch how dad comes home drunk, and we see how dad abuses mom when he's drunk, and we see how mom cries a lot and stays in bed, and we just assume that's how the world is. And then when I grow up, then I have a tendency to come home drunk. If I'm a guy, if I'm a woman, I tend to be depressed like my mother, or maybe later I react to it and become the opposite. You know, maybe I become a dad who's a total teetotaler and can't stand anybody who drinks or does anything, wants to, you know, abolish alcohol. And so we may not be exactly like what we learn, but either we're exactly like it or we flip over and be something else. That's what our tendency is. And sometimes the patterns that we learn are harmful to us. Now, we take a look at the things that we want to change in our lives, the way we act, how we feel about things, what kind of work we want to be doing in school, how much we want to be exercising, how we want to control our diet, how we want to interact with other people, whether we'd like to be stronger or more flexible and accepting, or more loving, or more outgoing, or more willing to share our feelings, or to be more compassionate. Or maybe I want to be compassionate, but I don't want to fall apart every time I read the newspaper because there's so much of a mess that's going on in the newspaper. I like to read it. I'd like to know the truth, and I like to care. But I don't want to care so much that makes me feel so helpless that I can't even look at it. I want to be able to care and then maybe find the strength that's in me that wants to do something about the things that I care about. I mean, those are just some of the kinds of things, kind of changes we might want to make in our lives. So back to what I was saying, though, is that all of these expectations that we have, they're all algorithms within our mind. You know, as you know, I came up being a mathematician and a computer programmer. I realized that the brain worked like a computer, which was a novel idea back in the 60s. And that in a way, the nervous system gets programmed. You know, we're all excited about artificial intelligence right now. Artificial intelligence is really the result of their setting up the computer to function exactly like the human nervous system. And then they let it go out there and learn. And the computer, of course, doing a million calculations a minute, goes out and searches everything that's in the internet. That when you go to if you haven't done it yet, you know, you have to go there. Don't waste time. Go there and try it. Open AI, OpenAI. Then you can chat with that robot. And you can create a relationship with a robot, or it can use it to write poems for you, or to word a lecture that you have to give. And it does a wonderful job. You can ask it the same kind of questions you would usually ask your Google, and it'll give you your response in a very different way. Because what it does is it scrubs and it looks at all the information. Like you go to Google, it gives you one website, whereas AI has already read all 50 other websites that you're there on Google, and it will kind of give it back to you 10 or 20 paragraphs that summarize what's there. Try it, do it. I began to realize that the brain works so much like a computer, and the computer works with algorithms. It's how an idea is handled. So you tell it, whatever item is added here, find the square root, multiply it by 5, divide it by 1,000, and add it to the number of degrees of temperature that it is right now outside. And you just put a number in there, and it processes it and gives you the answer. That's what it does. Well, we do the same thing. So if we put in the idea, okay, I want my $20 because I want to go out and use it, then what your computer says, well, look in the candy box, except it's not in the candy box. So what I'm saying is that we've learned these things, and sometimes they're wrong, sometimes they're bad, sometimes they're just limited, and we want to go further. We want to open up further. And so what are our tools? Tools we're talking about doing this is, one, deep relaxation, meditation, mindfulness. Uh, the idea here is when you come into the present, as I said, most of the time we're thinking about something else. You come into the present, you're only focused on what's happening in the here and now. You're in the present and you're nowhere else. Look at the times that you feel afraid, anxious, angry, or frustrated about things. You're not in the present. You're angry because something happened that's different from what you wanted to happen. You're disappointed because the weather wasn't what you hoped it would be, or you feel afraid because in your mind you envision something bad that might happen. But right now, there's no reason to be angry. There's no reason to be frustrated. There's no reason to be ashamed. There's no reason to feel guilt. There's no reason to feel shame. Absolutely nothing in this environment is there any reason to react to. And so if you stop thinking about the future and the present, or tone the thoughts down, diminish them, let them fade into the background and come into the present moment, and then you're peaceful. Then once you're in the present moment, of course, you're lowering your level of stress and anxiety. You're cleaning up stress chemicals within your body. You're doing lots just to be in the meditation. You're building up a certain confidence in yourself. And the idea is just the way that you can take 10 minutes and bring yourself into a very peaceful sense of the presence. You know that in every moment where you don't have a physical challenge, you have the right and you have the power to completely relax your body so that you're completely stress-free, because there's nothing that your body has to wrestle with. And the kinds of things that we have to wrestle with are not helped by your anger, your fear, your anxiety, your guilt, your shame, your frustration, your rage, your jealousy, your envy, your resentment. How often do those things help you? But anytime you begin to feel wound up in that kind of way, you have the power to stop and come into the present. And when you are in the throes of any emotion, that emotion is part of the fight or flight stress system. And because it's trying to get you to escape from a dangerous, what it thinks is a dangerous situation. I'm talking about the monkey mind now. Your limbic system, the unconscious mind, thinks that you are in a dangerous situation. And for years, maybe you'll be a little bit embarrassed because you're late, or because you forgot to wear the right clothes, or whatever. But that anxiety turns off your prefrontal cortex to a certain degree. It doesn't turn off altogether, but it shuts down your higher thinking so that you're not as good as analyzing the situation, coming up with a viable strategy or several strategies, and choosing among them the best. Choose the one that's most likely to produce the future outcome that you want. And then order your system to follow that prescription, that outcome that you want. Create that outcome by following that strategy. That's the way you want to handle any kind of challenge in your life. Instead, what do? We hide, we don't look, we don't answer the phone, we get furious, we yell at somebody, we challenge, we feel desperate, we can't eat, or we eat too much, or we do all these other kind of things instead of just dealing with the situation. Well, why do we do that? Because all those behaviors are attempts by the monkey mind to get away from that feeling inside. So you drink a few glasses of alcohol before you drive home. I don't know if that's going to handle the difficulty that you're having at home. So these escape behaviors are the things that we do that get us into trouble and that keep us from doing what we need to do. So having the power to come into the present moment and knowing that you can go there whenever you are feeling or tense or whether you're not, you can go there. But particularly at those times when you start to get physically, emotionally, mentally worked up where it's not useful, stop. So very, very powerful. A second piece of it then after relaxation and entering the now is the use of guided imagery. Because by now, at this point, you know that if you create a beautiful image in your mind, or if it's guided imagery from someone else, they can guide you to a beautiful beach or a mountaintop or whatever, or you and yourself can go to a spectacular experience that you had walking into a cathedral on your trip to Europe. Oh, the experience that you had in there was just. So I'm in the cathedral in Bern right now, but beautiful, beautiful. So by going there, you are guiding your imagery. You are guiding the imagery that's being exposed to your unconscious mind, and your unconscious mind will recreate the emotional state that you had at that point, say of deep relaxation, of calm. If you're envisioning yourself in a place of splendor and awe and of a religious, has a religious quality to it, an epiphany, then those chemicals are created inside of you, and you are, quotes, at that place mentally, neurologically, and chemically. So you're now primed to have another experience of that kind. And so, or I often go to that experience of fighting with the doctors who wanted to take my daughter out of the delivery room when she was born, and I didn't want them to because I wanted to go to the breast immediately. And they said, no, our policy here is the first 4 hours after a C-section must stay in the newborn nursery. And I said, no, I don't want that. And they said, well, you don't have a choice. I said, yes, I do. And I took the baby from at that point and gave her to her mother. They said, you're going to have to sign out against the medical advice. And I said, okay, bring me the papers. I've got the baby, so you can do whatever you want to do. Yeah. So when I want to feel firm and solid, I remember that experience. And those two doctors, they have my daughter under their arm, and they're about to go through the door. And I says, no, you're not. I was refrigerator Perry. They were not getting through there, and it. So when I want to be stubborn, I can think of that memory, and it puts me in a stubborn mood. If I want to enjoy a beautiful sight of a garden, maybe go up to the tulip gardens or something like that. Before I even go there, I can think about beautiful things, or times when I've seen beautiful colors, and remember that feeling, and it just kind of primes me to be able to feel that way when I'm there. So your guided imagery then allows you to put yourself in the mindset, in the frame of mind that's best for doing whatever it is that you want to do. Or if I want to be really creative, I might visualize something that I've done that was very creative and how it felt to do it, and to feel that feeling again. And then I open my eyes and I'm creative in the moment. If you want to behave differently in guided imagery, you can visualize yourself doing, particularly you can watch the skiers before they go down the ski run. Of course, they memorize the ski run before the race, but then the 10, 15 minutes before the race, they've got their headphones on, playing their favorite music or whatever it is. And in their minds, they're skiing, they're skiing it. They're skiing down, and they do it again and again and again. And what you find out that you will perform much better if you visualize yourself doing what it is that you want to do. If you want to walk up there, and if you want to go in and be very conciliatory with someone, envision yourself doing that. If you want to be very firm and inflexible, visualize yourself doing that. That's guided imagery. And it's guided imagery to go back and remember a time like I just did of my daughter's birth and let you see me turn into kind of an a-hole right here in front of you. Then you visualize the future. So those are the two basic ways you use the guided imagery to access certain mental, emotional, psychic, spiritual states. And then you can project that state forward into a different situation. Extremely, extremely positive. And we've done quite a bit of that. And of course, the best and most effective way to use your guided imagery is to first go into your deep relaxation and then do the guided imagery from there. Finally, we have the affirmations, which are basically, you know how you talk to yourself, you do something and such an idiot. Oh, what's the matter with me? What do I want to do next? Or I'm fixing, I say, well, now let's see. The screwdriver was in here and it's and you talk to yourself in that. Sometimes you find yourself actually saying the words out loud, but you're always talking to yourself inside. But you're not choosing your words carefully. They're just kind of coming out. Well, you can choose your words carefully. When you talk to yourself in that way, you believe what you're saying to yourself, and you are determining your thoughts and your feelings. But now by choosing affirmations, you are giving yourself positive self-talk that will tend, again, to shift you into feeling and thinking in a certain direction. Affirmations are very specific. So I could picture myself in this future situation feeling more flexible or stronger or whatever it might be. But I could also add to that the affirmations. I am strong and wise, and I have the capacity to be successful. I am strong and wise, and I have the capacity to be successful. I skipped a little piece a while ago. I talked about when we're in a negative and an anxiety-producing state, that it actually turns off the higher mind. It actually shuts down your prefrontal cortex. Yeah, I mentioned that. So you're actually limited and you can't think as well. So we have the relaxation, we have the guided imagery, and then we have working with gratitude. I'd like to begin with our opening meditation today, which will be of a mindfulness variety. So find yourself a comfortable position to be in. And choose a point on the wall or the ceiling opposite you, someplace it's easy for you to focus your eyes. Good. And the way I come into the present moment is I become clearly aware of the fact that as long as my breathing is happening, as long as my body is breathing in and breathing out, everything's okay, and I can relax deeply. And that's what I tell myself when I want to clear my body of tension and my mind of distraction. Let's try it. Focus your awareness on that point in front of you, or let your eyelids close now or later if you prefer. And think to yourself the words, "There's nowhere I have to go at this moment in time." And feel the truth of those words. And now think, "There's nothing that I have to do or accomplish at this moment in time." And recognize the truth of those words. And now think or say to yourself, "There's no problem that I have to solve at this moment in time. And therefore I give myself permission to relax." Yeah, The monkey mind hears and understands all of that, and you feel yourself beginning to change. Now, allow yourself to be aware of your breathing. The air comes in, the air goes out. Simply allow yourself to be aware. Are you breathing in right now, or are you breathing out? Just identifying. This is an in-breath, and this is an out-breath. That's all. What recognizes your in-breath is your mind. The object of your mind, of your mindfulness, is the in-breath. Your mind recognizes that in-breath, and you are focused on it as other thoughts begin to fade into the background. Breathing in, this is my in-breath. And with the out-breath, think to yourself, this is my out-breath. And for this moment, your out-breath is the object of your total focus. Breathing in, this is my in-breath. Breathing out, this is my out-breath. As breath follows effortlessly, like waves on the ocean. Wave follows wave. Breath follows breath. Thinking slows down and slows down until thinking is gradually vanishing. And they're simply breathing in, breathing out. The past does not exist and can never exist again. Breathing in, breathing out. The future does not exist and never has. There's only the ever-present now. This breath, this moment, the only moment that actually exists. Breathing in, breathing out. And soon you really begin to enjoy each breathing in. Each fresh new breath is like a celebration of life. Each breath out is a joyful release into the miracle of being alive. Sometimes the breath is short and shallow, sometimes it's deep. No need to control it. Just allowing the breathing to do itself. This breath. This now, breathing in, breathing out, now. Good. Now here is an affirmation that you can add. It's actually a Buddhist gatha. It takes 2 breaths to do it. As you breathe in, think to yourself the words, breathing in, I relax. As you breathe out, think the words, as I breathe out, I let go. Then with your next breathing in, living in the present moment, and then with the next breath out, I know this is the only moment. The next breath in, breathing in, I relax, and then breathing out, I let go. Living in the present moment, I know this is the only moment. Breathing in, I relax. Breathing out, I let go. Living in the present moment, this is the only moment. Keep doing it for a while now. Good. And notice what you're experiencing inside. Notice what you experience emotionally. Notice what your body is experiencing. Notice what your mind is experiencing. You feel that sense of greater presence in all these parts of you. Good. Now gradually allow yourself to return to full awareness of the space around you, allowing your eyes to open if they've been closed, gently discovering the colors around you with soft eyes, as though you were seeing them for the first time, noticing how comfortable you feel, yet fully alert to the world around you. And that's it. Good. So in a way, what we're doing, I like to think of us as really creating an advertising agency for yourself. And you are advertising the way of being that you want to be. Just as the advertisers out there, the politicians, corporations, and they're all trying to get you to think what they are telling you to think, what they want you to believe. But you have the opportunity to override that and to think what it is that you want to think. Let's go quickly through some of my notes about propaganda and advertising. And that has to do with one particular fellow, and that is Edward Bernays. You may not recognize his name, but you should actually. He was a nephew of Sigmund Freud, and he really believed Sigmund Freud's writings, and particularly those writings that indicated that the subconscious mind is constantly making choices, and that we can access that subconscious mind. And he decided to do it by convincing people to behave in certain ways. For instance, what is the standard American breakfast? I mean, you go to a diner, what do you order? What do you order? What's most typical? That's right, bacon and eggs. And why? Well, because the Hormel ham company wanted to sell more ham, and they hired Bernays. And so he sent letters out to 5,000 doctors and said, do you agree that before you go out to work with all the physical work you have to do during the day, it's better to have a heavy breakfast? Because up until that time, people just had, a little cereal, maybe they had some fruit, maybe they had some yogurt. Yeah, breakfast wasn't a big deal. Well, about 2,000 of the doctors wrote back and said, yeah, we agree. That would be a good idea. So the advertisement that went out was that 2,000 doctors agree that a heavy breakfast is best for you. And they show a picture of bacon and eggs. And guess what? By just repeating that over and over to people, they all started eating bacon and eggs, and it became a standard. And it's not a particularly good breakfast for you to have every day. Or maybe if you're doing heavy work, but not really. It's not cholesterol and other things. And then he was hired by the Lucky Strike company because the Lucky Strike was making a lot of money, but there are a lot of women who didn't smoke. It wasn't very nice for women to smoke. So he said, okay, you have to train women to smoke. So he got some debutantes to walk in front of the Easter parade down Fifth Avenue in New York. And they were told that at a certain signal, at a certain point, they were all to reach into their purses and take out cigarettes and light them. And he called them freedom torches because this was This was how women were going to be more free. They were going to demonstrate by having these cigarettes, which Bernays had talked to a number of psychoanalysts who said, yes, the cigarette represents the phallus, and they have penis envy, and so anything that gives women a penis is going to sell to them. So he said, these are your freedom torches. And then he wrote to the newspapers and had the photographers be at that particular corner. He said, a situation, a very important event is going to take place. And so they were there to take the photographs of those debutantes, those fashionable young women who took out their freedom torches and smoked their freedom torches. And women all over looked at this and said, hey, look, hey, I want to be one of those. Yeah, I can do that. I can smoke. That's right. And so we got a lot more women to smoke. And then they have to learn to inhale. Do you inhale? Everybody's doing it. Or you can smoke camels, this wonderful Turkish blend. If you want to learn more about this, look up The Century of the Self. It's a movie. It's free. It's on YouTube. It's pretty much a mind blower. And while you're in YouTube, you might want to look up Ginny or Clarence and Ginny. There's a Frontline movie that's on YouTube. That's another fun one to look at. Well, Bernays went on to become the father of propaganda. And he advised seven US presidents from Woodrow Wilson to Eisenhower. And he called propaganda the executive arm of the invisible government, because that is how you make the public mind. Propaganda is a form of communication aimed at influencing beliefs and attitudes towards some cause or position. Propaganda is to produce an emotional rather than a rational response. Well, so we all know about the big lie now and what a weapon that was, because the Nazis picked up his book and they believed it, and they used all of his techniques of propaganda and created the most horrible thing I think that's ever been created by humanity. That this one psychopath convinced this huge nation of mostly Catholics, I think, to do what they did by skillfully applying these techniques and having people salute and Heil Hitler. It goes on, and you can read Christopher Wiley's book, Mind Fic, the Cambridge Analytica and the Plot to Break America, and learn how they influenced several really important elections out there. So all that to say, that's one way of controlling the mind, or having your mind controlled by other people. But what we want to do is you want to influence your own mind and have the things happen that you want to happen. So our basic idea then is what we've learned about affirmations, and to put all these three things together with affirmations, not just to say it, although that will work, just to say affirmations. But if you do your affirmations in a state of relaxation, they will be more effective because they're more automatically accepted by the deeper mind. So you're using basically self-hypnosis. At the same time, you're using the principles of propaganda. Also, you use your guided imagery to create your image ideal. That is you looking and feeling the way you want to look and feel. Imagine yourself at your perfect weight, dressed in a way that's that you really like being dressed. If you don't have a way, you might just look at some magazines or something, and what strikes you as, yeah, that'd be cool to be dressed that way, maybe with a flowing red cape or black cape, maybe a Superman cape, maybe a Superman outfit. Why not? If you want to feel good before you go out to a challenge, just imagine that you're standing there wearing a Superman costume with a Superman cape on, and then just stride back and forth across the room as if you are Superman. And just had all of these successes, and you're ready to have whatever the next success is. I can get the feeling just by doing that. You can physically do that help. But maybe you want to be dressed in a bathing suit and swimming off of your yacht. Okay, if that's the future that you want, whatever future it is, do you want to be speaking to a group of people? Do you want to be taking care of people who are injured? Do you want to be teaching children with a certain mood? Do you want to be treating your loved ones in a certain way? Do you want to avoid certain kinds of temptation in the future that were hard for you to avoid in the past? Well, you want to make a picture of yourself looking and feeling the way you want to look and feel. And you want to put yourself in the future, and you want to be doing something that reflects those affirmations that you're giving yourself. And then you will say those affirmations to yourself. I think it's a really good idea to write the affirmations down for yourself. And then you can open your eyes during your imagery to remember them or record them using your cell phone or a recorder. And if you have trouble with self-acceptance, right now, close your eyes, breathe, imagine you've gone into your state of deep relaxation. You're feeling calm and comfortable. You erase unnecessary thoughts from your mind. Now imagine yourself looking and feeling calm and comfortable, feeling very positive about yourself. Maybe you're just walking down the street, or maybe you're writing, or maybe you're lecturing, or maybe you're running, or whatever. And you're saying to yourself, in that imagery, get into the imagery, make it now. Let yourself be there in this future imagery. Say to yourself, I accept myself for who I am without judgment or criticism. And then, I accept myself for who I am without fear of rejection from others. And now, I accept myself. I will no longer give my power away to others. I respect myself. I honor the essence of who I am. My light shines brightly for all the world to see. There are no limits to what I can achieve in my life. I choose to be an inspiration to all those around me. And notice how that feels. Good. And now let's just imagine that you want to be more inspired. What would you want to be inspired to do? Think of it. To say something, or do something, be something, write something, perform something, on stage, in front of a group, to someone important. Picture yourself there. Take time, just Put yourself in the right clothing for the scene. And you're saying to yourself, as you repeat after me, I'm ready to freely express myself. I'm capable of expressing myself with dignity and respect. I am open to new ideas. It's time to allow inspiration to guide me. I am an instrument of peace and hope to those in need of encouragement. I allow my angels to guide me and inspire me. Good. So again, it's by putting yourself into the situation. And you imagine yourself as already having accomplished what you want to accomplish. Think of it as you're looking at a videotape of the future, and then you act that tape through because you want to create the chemical and neurological state and muscular state within your body that corresponds to how you would feel or how you will feel when you have accomplished those things that you're saying. And so as you're saying them, they are true about you into that moment. Right? So let's try one more thing. Why don't you, let's say you wanted to affirm your spirituality. So imagine yourself in a spiritually inspiring place. And you're ready to be inspired. Say to yourself, today I choose to lean into the light that fills me with peace. I am calling on a higher power to inspire courage in me. I move through this day encircled and embodied with courage. I visualize my allies and those who support me. I am surrounded with encouragement. As I relax deeply and connect with this light, my spirit recharges. My intuition guides me even in the darkness. When I feel lost, my inner wise one helps me see my path. Good. And take a moment and just notice how you feel. And now as you return to where your physical body is relaxing, you let yourself know that you can choose to bring back all the best feelings that you were having. Bring them back with you into this moment, into this room where your body is resting, breathing, knowing that you have all these possibilities inside you. Breathe them throughout your body. Let yourself stretch and move. Wonderful. I'll send you some suggestions of products you might be interested in for working with this kind of imagery. If you go to drmiller.com/life meditations, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. See you in 4 weeks.